Hey viewers, I'm super excited to start this course with you. But before we do, we need to see where we are starting and where we are ending up. So we have a clear path to succeeding. So let's see what this course will look like for you. We are first going to start off with creating our hacking lab. Now don't worry, whether you are on Mac, Windows or Linux, you are going to be able to follow. Because what we will do is using something called virtual machine to install Kali Linux, which is often used with ethical hacking into our machine so that we can simulate and create our hacking environment. Don't worry, all the tools we are going to use are totally free, and we are going to be able to set up our computer in a way to follow the rest of the course. And we are also going to have a professional setup. We are also going to cover some basic hacking, some fundamentals and some principles that's going to set us up for success later on this course. Then we have an optional part for those that really want to get into programming as well, and possibly programming some of our projects. Later on in the course, we are going to teach you Python from scratch, or if you know Python already, as a refresher, so that you can also learn an extra pair of skill set for some header projects that we have in the course. Then we get into the fun part, and the first step we are going to dive into after we have our hacking lab and some of our programming skills. Sharp is reconnaissance. Here is where we learn what we call footprinting, or in the other words, information gathering. Once we choose our target, our first task is to gain as much information about the target as possible. We are going to talk about IP addresses, about who is tool, the WHAT web, STL scanning, finding username, building an email escaper tool, and the other tools able to us to gather as much information as possible. From there, we go into scanning, and this is where things get real. We gather information on some of the technical information what we can acquire from a target. For example, if they have open port, if they have a firewall, what software they are running on this port, and if they have any outdated operating systems. And don't worry if you don't know what any of this means. We can take you from scratch, and we are going to learn it all. Here is where we learn about TCP, UDP, using a powerful Nmap tool, different type of scan that we can do, how to work with firewalls, using decoys and packet fragmentation, and we are going to build a port scanning project in this section. From there, we go into vulnerability analysis. In this section, we use the information that we gather from the previous section, and with this information, we try to determine whether there is an unknown vulnerability that we can take advantage of. We are going to use different sorts of tools to learn our target system and where their weaknesses are. We are actually going to work on a Windows 7 machine that has a vulnerability and show how we can break into it and how we can use that to our advantage then. Well, this is the exciting part. This is the big part of the course. This is where we attack and gain access on the target machine. And throughout this session, we will be covering many different vulnerabilities and different targets. We perform different sorts of attacks and cover a very important tool of an ethical hacker. This is the meta-exploit framework. The goal of the exploitation is to get on a target machine. So this means we must drop a payload on the target machine so we can use it to navigate through their system, look through their file, execute anything we want, even deleting anything we want without the target, knowing anything about it. We will learn to create our own virus and trojans that we can deliver to the target, rather through an email or through a USB. This is the big section, and we are going to dive into the weights, try out those techniques and learn how to defend against them. After that, we have what we call post-exploitation. This is the name suggests, is what we do after we exploit a target. Since we are on that machine, we can do anything, depending on what we want to get out from it. At the end, after we do all those things we wanted by exploiting the target, we want to make sure we cover our tracks by deleting any event logs and deleting any evidence that we are ever on that machine. We are going to learn lots of things here, such as creating persistent on a target machine and even creating a backdoor in one of our projects. We then get into a very important part that a lot of you might find very interesting, and that is website penetration testing. This is a big topic for an ethical hacker, and in this section, we are mainly targeting websites and their bugs and vulnerabilities. This vulnerability can be anything from misconfiguration SQL injection, information disclosure command, injection cross, site scripting attacks. We are also going to code our own and create our own project to a login brute force script and also a directory discovery tool. In this section, we are going to learn how to use those techniques and therefore defend against them on your own website or a client's website. That we get into something that we have to know as an ethical hacker. It's the man-in-the-middle attack. This is an attack that is used inside a network, and this is allow us to snip any unencrypted data to see it in plain text. So we could use these techniques to see password for some websites. And we are going to cover some of the main tools that hackers use when doing a man-in-the-middle attack. We then have a bonus section on Wi-Fi and wireless cracking. In this section, we want to gain access to a network by cracking its wireless password. This is the section where we want to gain access to a network by cracking its wireless password. We are going to talk about things like AR cracking, password cracking, and HashGate password cracking, and show you how you might use this and how attacker might use this on your wireless network. I know you are getting super excited, I'm too. So without wasting time, let's get started and start learning ethical hacking.